Hello, I'm Sergeant Teresa Meade with the Wise County Sheriff's Office, and we're doing a series of community presentations called Synthetic Education, Taking Our Communities Back. We'll be doing several different locations throughout the coming weeks, and we invite parents, community leaders, students, pastors, rescue squad members, fire department members, anybody that's interested in finding out information about synthetic drug abuse. And it's just, can we start over?
You're doing great! Take three! You're doing great!
Sorry. Hello, this is Sergeant Teresa Meade with the Wise County Sheriff's Office. We are doing a series of courses called Synthetic Drug Abuse, Taking Our Communities Back, in an attempt to educate the community about the dangers of synthetic drugs that's plaguing our Wise County citizens now. We want to invite everyone to come out and attend a meeting at their school or in their community in the coming weeks. We have several planned, and we hope that you do come out.
Hey, I'm Chuck Slimp. I'm the Commonwealth Attorney for Wise County in the city of Norton. I'm thrilled to be here with Teresa and members of the Sheriff's team. Sheriff Ronnie Oakes and I are working closely together to not only go out and take our communities back in the legal side, but also work very hard in the community to educate the public about what we're seeing. I'd like to invite you in to join us over the course of the next few weeks. Let me get out my phone here that has our dates. If you would like, you can go visit us online, visit the Sheriff's page on Facebook or my page in order to find more updates. You can find out that our next event will be at Central High School on April 21st at 7 p.m. And then on April 28th, we're going to be down at Union High School in Big Stone, at Appalachia Elementary on May 2nd, and then May 3rd, St. Paul Elementary. We'd like to invite you to come and be part of this exciting group of events as we work diligently to try to take our community back. Now, I hope that you'll be able to watch right here on ARC TV as we have some of these programs that are going to be aired and showed so that in case you're not able to get out of the house, not able to come to one of our programs, you can learn from the experts here about what there is to know about this dangerous drug and what it's doing to our community. We're working very hard to try to make sure that our community is taken back and so that we never have to fight this scourge of drug dealing and substance abuse again. Teresa?
Thank you, Jack.
Any final words?
Thank
you again. We'll look forward to seeing you at one of the programs.
Thank you.
It doesn't have to be too tall. You know, I'm still waiting on that growth spurt. You know what I mean, ladies? You're waiting on it too. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I had a visitor at my office today, and wow, he was tall. Put me to shame.
Okay, do something. You stand here, and I'll stand behind you, and you look a lot taller.
Hey, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, folks, welcome. Thank you so much for being here tonight and being with us as we talk through the dangers of synthetic drugs, synthetic narcotics, and drug use in general, and what it's doing to our community. I'm Chuck Slimp, Commonwealth Attorney for Wise County and the City of Norton. I'm thrilled to be here with Teresa Meade from the Wise County Sheriff's Department. She's going to introduce the Sheriff's folks here in just a minute. But before I do, I want to thank our Mayor for being with us tonight. Mayor, thank you for being here. And everybody, George Dean, Mayor of Pound, thank you. What's that? Give him a big head. Okay. And thank you all so much. This is so wonderful to have such a good crowd tonight to listen and learn. We're going to try to bounce stuff off of each other, and so we're going to be jumping back and forth from the mic. And for your first example of that, Teresa, come on up and introduce your folks.
Thank you, Chuck. And I apologize. I'm not used to using the microphone, so I tend to talk loud anyway. I don't know that you need to hear me that way, but try to tone it down a little bit. I want to thank Fran Balthus for helping us here. She's the assistant principal here, and we're really tickled to be here at J.W.Adams. And I tell you, this place holds a dear place in my heart because I taught DARE for 6 years here at J.W.Adams. Have a lot of good friends here. Loved my years teaching DARE, and I appreciate everybody that's been a part of that. Mr. Phillips, where are you? Are you hiding back there? Is he hiding? There he is. This gentleman came to our meeting that we had at the sheriff's office and says, we got to get you all over to our school. And he kind of put the bug in Fran's ear and got us here, and we're glad to be here. So the whole purpose of this program comes from a grant that the Sheriff's Office received. Sheriff Oaks has written had millions of dollars worth of grants come through the Sheriff's Office, and that's how we do a lot of things. But this is the first grant of its kind. And we actually had written a grant for a bunch of equipment we didn't get, but we got synthetic education materials. And we started researching about what to do. There was not a lot of education out there, so we decided to create some education for our communities. And by getting some specialists in the county to come, or outside the county to come to Wise County, and also we created some documents that we are publishing and distributing throughout the county. Something that we did that I think that you guys have probably seen at your school, this is a banner display that we purchased for your school. We actually started out with 2, and we were sharing them, and everybody liked them, so we said, let's purchase a couple more. And then it went from 2 to 17 that we've purchased. We put one in every middle school, one in every high school, and we have one at the courthouse in front of Chuck Slimp's office, and I have 2 that I take on the road with me. We've also put one at Mount Empire College and one at UVA Wise. They're to be displayed at all times, and I think most everybody wants them up at all times. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of it. The information on the banner comes from Captain Russell Cyphers, who is our captain of our Criminal Investigative Division, and he actually wrote a thesis about synthetic drug abuse and the effects. And so some of the information on there comes from his paper. The photos in the bottom, and you all actually have some paperwork that has exact same stuff on it, so you have a brochure that has the same pictures. But the photos come from the actual drug raids that we did last year or year before last, and the Up and Smoke drug raids that we did. I actually worked at one here in Pound, and we did a search warrant. And I know everybody's really glad to see those businesses gone. So those pictures come from those locations, and they're actual drug raids. And if you get opportunity to look at it a little closer, you're more than welcome to. You actually are going to see some photos very similar to these. But the reason we have those on this display, we want you to see how they're trying to target our young people. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. So that's where that comes from. You also got a prescription bag tonight. And as you were checking in out front, that prescription bag has some of the same information on that. And what we were able to do with the synthetic drug grant that we got, we purchased bag ads at the Food City pharmacies. And we put that information on the bags, and we actually purchased 72,000 bag ads. Very cheap. You couldn't buy materials that cheap. But they distribute the bags throughout the county. So we may get, a few people that'll read those bags, so hopefully we can reach them that way. Obviously, we're going to reach 72,000 people, hopefully, so we hope anyway. We also have some materials that I've put in the bag for you all. Some of you are getting different materials in the bag, and it may be about synthetic drugs, it might be about alcohol, it may be about cocaine. Those are some documents that were given to us that we're passing out. And I have ordered some materials that were free, and I got those brochures free. So we'll be getting a few more things also. If you have a student that's here at school, if you have not registered their name up there, they get credit for being here. So make sure that you, or for you being here, they get credit too. So they'll get bonus points, Fran said. All right, I want to introduce some people that are here with me tonight, and kind of tell you a little bit about the reason that I wanted you all to have the opportunity to see some of this stuff. We have actual displays of the drugs that we brought with us. And this is evidence, and it is basically the responsibility of this young man right here. This is Nathaniel Baker. He's a deputy with the Sheriff's Office. He's our crime prevention officer and also our domestic violence officer. And he's got some displays up here, and at the end we're actually going to give you all an opportunity to come up and view the displays and as you leave, okay? We're also going to give you plenty of opportunity to ask questions, and we might actually bounce back and forth between Nathaniel, myself, or if anybody has something to offer, please speak up. I also want to introduce to you Lieutenant Brad Mullins. He's your school resource officer here. He's also your DARE instructor. Oh, right, you got one thing. He's doing a fine job, and he and I discussed this, and I was wondering if he would like it as much as he does, but he loves it. And I'm really proud of him. He's doing a great job, and he has a lot to offer you all. He's been doing this a long time too, and he's been on the road for a lot of years, and he's seen a lot out there too, so he can share a lot with you all. I'm going to let you go ahead and start. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Teresa. Sergeant Meade does a fantastic job. Unfortunately, Sheriff Oaks couldn't be with us tonight, but he sends his regards and sends his amazing team, and they've got a wonderful team around them. I also see folks from the Pound Police Department with us tonight, so thank you all for joining us too. Okay, so let's get started and talk about synthetic drugs. What it is, what it means, why it's such a problem, why it's so prevalent in our community, and what we're trying to do to stop it. Let me begin before I say that, and begin by giving a football analogy. Anybody football fans? I bet there's a couple right here. Yeah? Oh, you're pointing at your dad, right? He's a football fan. My favorite team, and I should be ashamed to admit this, my favorite team is the Tennessee Titans. I heard that. You know, and the Tennessee Titans, I proudly say I'm a fan. I'm not a fair weather fan, right? And they're horrible. They're always horrible. They had maybe one good season, right? They went to the Super Bowl and lost. Go figure. They always played defense. They never really had a good offense. It was always the defense, right? And they always, I like Coach Fisher, but he was always a defensive guy. When you're playing just one side of the ball, say defense, the other side gets dropped sometimes. Or the other side isn't as strong. You get beat, and that's the Titans' problem. I hope they fix that, but maybe not. Likewise, the work that the Sheriff's Department does and the work that we do as lawyers and prosecutors in court, and the work that the police department here in Pound and across our region does, only goes so far. I equate that to playing defense. Why? Because a call comes in on the phone for a report of some crime. They go to the scene. They get there after it's happened. They investigate. They then get the case to us, and we prosecute. Now, that's a great job. They do a fantastic job with it, and we try to do the best we can in court, and we do our job and do it well. But that's just playing one side of the ball. That's playing defense. I firmly believe, and I'm probably preaching to the choir, and I know I recognize some friendly faces here, y'all share the same view, that that's just one side of the equation, especially when we have something so significant in our community affecting just about every aspect of our caseload, and that is drug abuse, drug use. I've seen it representing kids who've been abused and neglected. I've seen it helping out children in foster care, and as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, I saw it. The drugs affect just about every single case on our docket. It affects just about every larceny. They're going in to steal things to get drug money. Every DUI, almost every DUI is related to drugs. Not so much alcohol anymore. So it causes a significant problem. A significant number of cases. Our courtrooms are full of drug offenders. Our jails are full of drug offenders. And the community feels powerless to do anything about it. I submit that's probably because we've been playing one side of the ball, the defense side, and not focusing too much on the other side of the ball, and that's the offense. But law enforcement can't do that job alone. That job is getting out and affecting and changing the hearts and minds of our community. Changing the citizen who's afraid to call and report on the neighbor because of the repercussions, or afraid to go and stop the abuse or the drug house down the road because, oh, nothing will happen anyway. That mindset, that approach, is the reason why I feel like we're losing that battle. The reason why the sheriff and the Sheriff's Department, and I feel like we need to take our community back. And why I'm so encouraged that all of you all are here tonight, because you care about our community, and you care about what happens in our community. And so, we're playing both sides of the ball now. We're taking our education piece to schools, and to community groups, and to churches, and not only educating, but empowering people that you can do more. And we're playing on both sides of the ball now and trying to make a dent and a difference in it. But this problem, the synthetic drug problem, is unlike any other kind of drug. And we'll tell you a little bit about it and why it's so potent. Just one use of a synthetic drug changes the brain chemistry of someone who's using that drug. That person is a guinea pig, and for the first time, that drug had never been tested on a person, a human being. It's resulting in numerous deaths, overdoses, and other crimes. Probably the most shocking that I didn't know until I started doing this and getting up to date on all of it is these drugs are just mixed in somebody's basement. It's not like in a pharmaceutical lab where they have specific chemicals for pills, right? This is mixed up in somebody's basement, and that every batch is different. And because every batch is different, because these guys are entrepreneurs trying to make a profit, they might put different things in them to either make them more addictive, to make it last longer. For instance, the day we had a synthetic training out at the college about a couple months ago, Lee County social workers came and were there with us. And they came up to me after one of the breaks and said, "Did you hear we had a death yesterday in the county because of synthetic drugs?" And I hadn't at that stage. What? Tell me about it. He said, "We believe that whatever drug they were smoking was mixed with rat poison." Rat poison. And people are willingly putting this in their body. Why? Because they think they can pass a drug screen if they take a synthetic versus another drug. It's complicated. So let's talk about it, and we've got some slides and we'll go through. Now, let me time out for half a second and say, I don't want this to all be about us talking to you. It should be a conversation we talk with you. And so at any stage, if you've got a question, if you want to make a statement, if you want to express your views, there's nothing wrong with that. We welcome that. So if you have an experience that you want to talk about, raise your hand and we'll stop and we'll talk through. We hope to try to get out in about an hour so that y'all, I know there's little kids here that have school tomorrow. My boys have school. I want to try to get home to them before they go to bed. But we want to try to take as much time as we can because it's not all about talking, it's about listening. And I think that's truly how you affect the battle and how you affect the community. So we'll feel free to do that. Okay, let's go through some of these slides. Some of the graphic that you see here is discussing use of drugs by 12th graders. Now, if you look at the graph, you see 36% of 12th graders that use drugs are using marijuana mainly. A staggering statistic that's right below that, and something that I think really highlights the problem that we see here, is this synthetic marijuana and synthetic drugs are right below it at 11%. Pause for half a second and we'll grab you an example of what this quote-unquote synthetic marijuana is. Just the product, if you don't care.
That's raw form.
This is raw synthetic marijuana. It's basically just leaves that somebody's chopped up to make it look like marijuana. What they do is they take a bunch of chemicals and they spray it on and they mix it and then they package it in little flashy, shiny packages. Guys, y'all wanna? We got packages and they're marketed to young people. For instance, these were actual drug packages that have been recovered right here in Wise County. You notice one has SpongeBob on the front of it. One has, let me see here, what do you have? Cartoon characters. There's Scooby-Doo. Here we go. Scooby-Doo, and the label, Scooby Snacks. other shiny packages with shiny names and flashy things. All right, it's meant to be smoked by the drug users. It's not marijuana. It's nowhere close to marijuana in its effect and its potency. Let's talk about not just the synthetic marijuana, but there's also other drugs out there that are meant to mimic these other drugs, prescription drugs. For instance, there are stimulants like amphetamines or opioids or tranquilizers that are highlighted here on the screen. These are drugs that we see that are prescribed, that are abused in our community, and a significant number of our cases are related to prescription drug abuse. Talk through, though, where this stuff is being seen and why it's such a problem here in Southwest Virginia. Teresa, if I talk too much, you stop me. Come and get me.
You're fine.
There's one microphone, right? That's
okay.
You give the lawyer the microphone. That's a problem, right? I didn't hear an amen. Save your lawyer jokes for later. Okay, look at this. From 2012 to 13, this is prescription opioid cases. Now, back up here to the other one, and you can see what an opioid is. Oxycontin, hydrocodone, buprenorphine, or Suboxone. These are powerful drugs. There was a decrease of 4% between 2012 and 13. Statewide, between 04 and 13, a 156% increase of opioid prescriptions. Now, the prescriptions statewide, you look at Southwest Virginia compared to the rest of the state. As far as heroin is a type of opioid that these cases have risen since 2013, 136% from 04 to 13. You notice here in Southwest Virginia, though, we have the other drugs, the prescription drugs, rather than the raw heroin, or mainly have. You want to comment? Good?
You're doing, that's fine.
Okay. And there's some few other ones that we see. For instance, Molly, which is a type of synthetic drug, ecstasy, similar to ecstasy, and some other things. People abuse even cough syrup to get a high. Now, the way they have, the law has the framework, and y'all have all heard about scheduling of drugs, right? Different drugs have different schedules based upon 4 basic categories. Whether it is a high potential for abuse, whether it has any medical use in the U.S., accepted medical use, and whether it has a high potential, 3 categories, not 4. My fuzzy math, right? I went to law school to avoid math. High potential for dependence. Okay, so for instance, Schedule 1 drugs, LSD is an example, or heroin is an example, have a high rate of dependence, a high rate of abuse, and no medical uses. Strike that with Schedule 2, which do have some medical uses, but a high rate of dependence and a high rate of abuse. An example of this would be codeine or morphine or cocaine or methamphetamine. Here's some examples of cocaine. Now, we pause here and we talk about methamphetamine. And we have a significant number of cases of methamphetamine in our community. Now, this is a type of synthetic drug. Why? Because it's synthetically created in somebody's own lab, basically. I'm going to pause and let Teresa, we don't want to tell you how to make this. We do want to tell you what it is, though, and why it's so dangerous. Here's an example of a cleanup kit from a recent meth lab.
Methamphetamine is basically a bunch of chemicals thrown together, and they actually throw in things like pseudoephedrine. You hear about Sudafed. It's thrown into it, and they throw a bunch of other things on top of it, like drain cleaner. We hear Red Devil Lye. They use propane. They use lithium-ion batteries. Lots of other chemicals they'll mix together. And what it does, it changes the chemical compound, and the meth that comes out of that will either settle to the bottom or rise to the top. I can't remember which one it is. settle to the bottom. They'll pour off the refuge, and what's on the bottom, that's their drug, that's concentrated, and that gives them the high. They'll break it into little pieces, they'll smoke it, they'll crush it up, sometimes they'll snort it. Most of the time they smoke it. They actually can inject it, so lots of things that they can do. But it leaves a lot of garbage, and you all, I can't stress this enough. If you all go out with your community to pick up trash, please be very mindful of what you're picking up. This garbage is thrown out of cars. They set it on the side of the road. Just a few weeks ago, our litter control people have advised me that down Tacoma Mountain, you know where Tacoma Mountain is, going off Wise Mountain into Coburn area, down Tacoma Mountain, in a 5-day period, they picked up 18 bottles that were mobile meth labs. And they're basically in maybe a Gatorade bottle or a Mountain Dew bottle or whatever, what's left over in that. So when they see something like that, they call our task force guys, and they send somebody out to clean up the site. And that takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And it has to be disposed of properly because it explode. And you imagine the acid that comes out is going to burn somebody. So if you go out to pick up trash and you pick up the wrong thing and it explodes, a little kid, it could hurt them. So we've got to be mindful of that. A lot of garbage out there that we have to take care of too. Our drug task force gets calls constantly about people feel like there's a lot of drugs in the neighborhood. There might be a meth lab. They might smell an odor. I myself haven't smelled a meth lab, so I can't really tell you what it smells like. Some people may say it smells like sulfur. I don't know. I don't know.
It's going to be a chemical smell similar to like ammonia or something along those lines. It's a very strong odor, especially if it's a day that it's windy. You can smell it really well. Other days it may not be as prevalent. You may not be able to smell it. But if it's going to give off kind of an ammonia or chemical smell that is very displeasing to the lungs.
If you've ever had the opportunity of seeing the show Faces of Meth, it's on YouTube channels. You can see that. There's lots of pictures of the progression of individuals, of what they look like as they have been arrested, their photo from their mugshots, and how it's changed them. They'll develop lots of sores on their faces and their body. You hear a thing called meth mouth. They'll lose their teeth. Meth sores all over the body. They'll have scabs.
Teresa, let me, as she's going through these, let me make sure that I'm clear to anybody who's here, but anybody also that might be watching. I saw a gentleman in court a while back. It wasn't recent, that was present when a meth lab exploded. And the burns and the boils on the skin, it basically melted his skin. So dangerous, so scary that it gave me basically nightmares for weeks. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's horrible, horrible to witness. There's a significant number of cases that we're prosecuting where kids are around this stuff. And if you know of kids that are around this stuff, you need to report it. And we will prosecute and not ask for jail. We're asking for lengthy prison sentences for somebody who puts a kid in danger of one of these highly toxic explosive devices. It's not good. And we're trying to make sure that people know, if you're going to do this with a kid around, be prepared. If you get caught, it's going to be bad. You're going to wish that you had that thing exploded on you instead. Okay, let's move forward to other types of drugs that aren't scheduled. Marijuana is one. Now, there's other schedules of drugs, and as we talked about, as they go down in their scheduling, it's less likely to either be abused or be addictive. Marijuana is not scheduled. There is no, it's not a controlled, it's not a specifically controlled substance, but it is illegal in Virginia, and particularly what we see a lot of, and I'll let Teresa talk about, is the oils that come off of it, but we've got a picture about that. I'll jump up here in just a second. Or did you take it off?
I don't know if I select that on there or not. Maybe not.
point of this slide is basically, we're not just seeing normal pot or marijuana or crack or even prescriptions anymore. The drug use in our community has gone beyond those prescriptions to something more lethal, more dangerous, more scary. I don't know if y'all saw the news the past couple of months. We had a drug raid in Wise County. Sheriff's Department, along with several agencies throughout the community, went out, and we had over 90 arrests in 2 days. And of those drug offenders, and we're working on others right now. We're working on other cases, so stay tuned. But of those, I was shocked that over half were synthetic drug cases. And of those synthetic drug cases, these things are being sold within 1,000 feet of a school. So that's why I get so fired up and mad about this stuff, that we've got to do more. Yes, ma'am? Go ahead. Question?
You keep talking about the synthetic drug.
Yes.
Is it more addictive than the regular drug?
Well, as far as more addictive, it depends. It depends on what it is, but I submit
What
yes.
is in it?
The question was, is it more addictive than other drugs? And it depends on what's in it. Now, what we're seeing as far as the synthetics, and we'll show you some slides on a little bit of why. The danger with it is that it changes the brain chemistry of an individual, a lot like heroin, in which the person no longer feels pain or pleasure the same way. And just one use, you go so high that when you come down, that you don't want to feel anything ever again. And they seek out the next high.
That's why I was wondering about that when you showed that. Because,
Right. It's
I mean,
Well, it's not that it's any more, made me feel like Elvis
Sorry.
for a minute. It's okay. It's not that it's any more addictive, but the problem is it's not just the marijuana or the hashish or the THC that's
Everything
in
else that's in
that.
it.
Right. The stuff that they add to it, that increases the addictive properties of
okay,
it.
do they sell that cheaper than they do the other stuff?
Oh, yes,
Is
they
that
do.
one reason why
The
they go
synthetic
with
is
the
sold a lot
synthetic?
cheaper, and that's why they do that. But the reason they developed the synthetic drug is because they can bypass the drug screens, okay? You can bypass the drug screens. In marijuana, you get it, you might get a bag that costs $20, and, you might set maybe 20 cigarettes out of it, okay? So you might get 20 cigarettes out of it, sell them for $5 each. This is just an example. Okay, so you might make a little bit of profit. With the synthetic narcotic, you can break that down into smaller batches, and because it has such a stronger effect in smaller batches, so they don't have to use as much to get a stronger effect. The hallucinogenic effect of it's really, really something that we're seeing out there. It's called potpourri, synthetic marijuana, K2 spice. The other drug that we're talking about is bath salts. And we hear bath salts, it's not your Epsom salts that we soak our feet in, people. It's cut down to be crystallized, and that's why they're doing that. They'll give it names that don't seem quite as bad for you, and they give them these names. So, okay, we're going to sell it as potpourri. We're going to put this label on there that says not for human consumption. But really, they're just trying to sell you something and get by with it. So they're selling it out there. Now, we were seeing this in gas stations. We were seeing this in convenience stores and little, I call it, people would put their shed buildings outside their house, and we're selling it out of the shed building. So we had a lot of that going on. And they were selling it everywhere, and they're making huge profit. They will order it online from China, and China really has our best interests at heart. We know they do, don't we? I'm saying that facetiously, please. But, China would sell this stuff to us online at a very cheap price. And so they would cut it in smaller and smaller batches. Or they would just sell the chemical. And so the people here buying it would mix it, as Chuck said, in large batches. And so they might mix a batch of Scooby snacks, and everybody likes the Scooby snacks, and so we're going to make some more Scooby snacks. Well, we might have had some of the SpongeBob in it before, so it had something different in it. I might not have cleaned out my bucket good enough, so we're gonna mix it. Oh, that's okay. We'll just leave that in there too. So whatever they throw in there, you don't know what they're getting. They may even throw some herbs and spices from their yard. Who knows what they're throwing in there? But the whole purpose is to make more money. And the people that are selling, it's not who I have a problem with, or who buying it is not who I have a problem with. The people that are selling, the drug dealers out there are the ones I have a problem with.
Well, I've heard so much about synthetic drugs, but I never knew that much about them.
Sure.
Right.
And the next slide really highlights what it is, and what. How many of y'all did very well in high school chemistry class? Just one, two. Okay.
I did.
You did? You did, right? I avoided math and science. And that's why I went to law school. Okay, so here's like basic chemistry, right? You know your elements and your, somebody help me here, chemistry teachers. All right, you have the different molecules for a known drug, and these have been developed over time. For instance, oxycodone or Oxycontin, right? It's been developed by a pharmaceutical company. It's been tested on human beings. It's been developed in a lab to get the right effect, medical use, to do its job. So what these chemists in China are doing is, because oxy is illegal if you don't go through the proper prescriptions and dispensing process, they would change one molecule in order to try to make it legal. And in theory, it was, because it wasn't the controlled substance that was on the books in Washington. And so you'll see here THC. If you tweak a molecule, you make J.W.H.O.8, which is very similar in chemical structure, but very different in how it changes your mind. Okay? THC, the chemical compound found in marijuana that gives you that effect. Okay, and so there's cannabinoid, did I say that right? Cannabinoid agents, like
Close enough.
these are did I say it?
I'm saying it to myself.
These are designed to try to mimic cannabinoids, or marijuana, THC, right? You also have others, this is what Teresa was talking about, the package that is labeled not for human consumption. We may know it's for the person to consume. They also took care to make sure to keep out of reach of children as well. Here's some examples of the packaging. Now, we talked about the marketing. Now, here's some other things. Research chemicals. Years and years and years and years and years ago, while they were trying to develop the stuff that we have on our markets today, scientists would create, hey, wonder if we tweak this chemical this way. Well, FDA decided or found that that is not good for the body after human tests, and so they threw out that batch. Well, these chemists would get it and try to tweak it and make it into their own to market to the American public. Again, labs in China are mainly the responsible parties, and they package it as potpourri or bath salts or legal products to try to get through customs. And they did, and unfortunately still do by packaging and labeling. So each of these drugs is made to try to mimic another known drug. For instance, what we know as gravel, or also known as flaca. It's gravel, named gravel because it looks like a little rock, like a little pebble or gravel. It's made to mimic other drugs, but it's cut or mixed with other known drugs like heroin or fentanyl or other things. And this stuff is so potent that and dangerous that just a little bit of a use can cause instant death. It can speed up the heart rate of a user so great that literally your heart beats so fast you die. Or it will make you so overheated that you tear off all your clothes and go jump out in the snow. There was a reported case over in Scott County like that, and the guy died of hypothermia. They sell it out of homes, they sell it out of motels, and all kinds. Yes, sir.
So basically, the difference in synthetic and like a normal drug like opiates and things like that is that normal medicine, when you digest it, like metabolizes it and it breaks it down. With a synthetic drug, it just binds to your receptors and it kills it out.
That's exactly what it does.
Very,
You can tell he's a
very
nursing student.
Very
can't you?
good, very good. I love it.
Synthetic drugs don't work like THC and marijuana. THC, marijuana, your body can metabolize it, process it out. This stuff does not process out of your system. One use, it binds to the receptors and synapses in your brain, which means your brain is not sending the same messages that it was before. And it changes that brain chemistry because your receptors are blocked off. THC doesn't have that effect. Cocaine, that type of thing. Eventually, usage with THC, marijuana, heroin, those types of things will cause brain damage, but not the way this does. This is instantaneous, whereas it will often take a prolonged use with your, I call them classic drugs like meth, or not meth, heroin, cocaine, marijuana.
Okay.
Can I mention
Good
something
question.
about plant?
Yeah.
I want to mention something about the FLACA and the gravel. It's something we hear quite a bit about lately. I've spoken to our individuals that represent the Drug Task Force. We have a lot of the gravel problem going on now. And what's happening is the drug dealers are mixing it with things to make it have a stronger effect. Because if theirs is better than Joe's over here, they're going to get more people buy from them. And they're going to say, oh, what was that stuff you sold me last time? I like that. Well, they're going to get you addicted a little bit more, so they'll mix something with it. And they're mixing fentanyl. Fentanyl is a pain medicine. Sometimes you hear fentanyl patches. It's a gooey substance, and they'll mix it with that and all the other stuff that they mix it with. And so you don't know what you're getting. A couple years back, we had a whole group of individuals in one night that OD'd on a batch of gravel because the drug dealer decided to mix it with a bunch of stuff, and they had several people that OD'd and going to the hospital and had prolonged problems. Another thing that happens with some of these drugs is it'll crystallize in the lungs when they smoke it. So we're going to have prolonged effects health-wise, and these individuals aren't going to be able to take care of themselves. They're going to need more medical attention, and that basically increases our health care costs because we have to help take care of them because they can't work, they can't pay for their health care, so that's what we're seeing. And these individuals are working so hard to produce this drug and so hard to sell it, they don't normally hold on jobs either, so we've got to think about that. They're out there working, selling their drugs when we're all out there working ourselves. Yes, ma'am.
People that's making this stuff,
Yes, ma'am.
are they on the drugs themselves, or are they just making it?
Sometimes yes, sometimes not.
Not if they're smart.
Yeah.
And
It's a business, you're right.
And it's very lucrative. She was talking a little bit earlier, about, it's a lot cheaper, and it is. It's a whole lot cheaper to manufacture. Average cost for 1 gram of synthetic marijuana is about $4. They turn back around and sell it for $20. It's a $16 profit. Actual marijuana right now, what they call a nickel bag, which is a bag probably about that big, you're going to get about $50 to $60 out of it. So the user, hey, this is $20, it's $50 for me to go smoke real marijuana, or I can pay $20 to smoke this. I can get almost 3 grams of this, whereas I'm only getting 1 or 2 out of the real marijuana.
And one thing that I do have to tell you is those individuals that are dealing in gravel, that are smoking gravel, they become very paranoid, and almost every one of them carry a gun because they don't trust anybody and they don't trust the other dealers. So they're afraid that somebody's cutting in on their territory, so they're always carrying guns, and they're up at all hours of the night. You're going to see them roaming the streets, and we have more problems late at night too. And they're out driving, they're moving from location to location because they don't want to get caught. And the big issue with that is they're moving from their homes or from the businesses to the homes and going underground sort of, or they're going from hotel to hotel to hotel. And they have somebody always watching, seeing what's going on. And they may not sell it out of their home, they may sell it of somebody else's home. But we have seized a lot of stuff from homes, a lot of guns. Usually there's guns that go along with it. Large amounts of cash, they always have cash. And that's some things that you're going to see. We actually had some busts last week that we had seized a large amount of cash, sometimes vehicles, things like that. And some of the things that I'm going to share with you too are some other side effects that you're going to see, and it can happen with just about anything. Is we're going to have people are going to be really sedated, going to be lethargic. We hear this a lot. It's the zombie type medicine that you hear about. How many of y'all remember the gentleman that was on bath salts and chewed the homeless man's face off in Miami? We've heard about that. A lot of self-mutilation. They don't take care of themselves. They forget to drink and eat and sleep and all the things they need to do, so their bodies break down very rapidly. We actually have a video that we want to show you. Is this the one I want to show or not?
This is the first one. Okay, so we're at about 10 till 8. We want to show you a video and then want to pause and let you all, no, you're okay. Want to pause and let you all comment and ask more questions. And this has been a really good group asking questions. Thank you, and making comments. So thank you. Let's watch this.
Sure.
Which one?
We'll do the last one.
The last one?
Yeah,
Okay.
go back one more.
Okay. And I see some little kids in the room. This, I don't know, it might be a little bit graphic.
No, it's not.
Or not? Okay.
No.
She says no.
This one's not a bad one.
Okay, good.
And this comes from YouTube. So
It's just showing you different packaging.
Hello, please leave a message after the tone.
What's your name? Can you tell me what your name is? Do we know what our name is?
we're just staying in here. I'm sorry.
Hmm?
This gentleman was under arrest. He had actually called 911, and that's the call that you heard initially. This young man, we were told 2 hours later, later died from his overdose that he took, and he was on bath salts. So he was experiencing hallucinations and terrors that no one would want to be a part of. But he died. He looked like he was totally healthy. And this could be from one use, we don't know, but it can happen so fast. If you get on YouTube, there's so many videos out there that show people that are going through these side effects. And the reason we couldn't show you a lot of them because a lot of foul language comes out a lot of them. But if you want to go view those and learn some more about those, please, feel free to do so. But there's a lot of sad things that go on in people's lives. Our goal is not to persecute the people that are addicted. We want them to get help, and we want to work in the communities ways to find help for them. Working with the clergy, working with the community, any way we can to educate ourselves and say we need to get you some help. And hopefully those resources will be out there that if we work together. There's a great program at the City Center in Norton called Celebrate Recovery, and we're going to be doing some classes with them also and learning from them of what we can do to help the community. The drug dealers are who we're after. The individuals that are addicted, that's an illness. Addiction is an illness, and we want to help them the best way we can. But we can't do it alone, as Chuck Slimp has just said. If you have information that you want to share with us about drug dealers in your community, you've got the number on the bag that I gave you or on the brochure for the Drug Task Force. Also, you could email us at crimetips@ysso.net. You can contact me at the Sheriff's Office. It will all be totally anonymous. So has anybody got any questions? Yes, sir.
Everybody in here has seen, through movies, through this presentation right here, or other means, YouTube or whatever, you've seen the horrible reactions, the results of drugs. The question that I've got is, why have we not been able to figure out what is prompting what I call the first time use of a perfectly normal, healthy individual that would do the dumb thing of putting this crack in their body? Has anyone taken the time to figure out what is prompting people to make that first time use and destroy their lives from that moment on?
I have something to share with you about that. And when I was going through my training for dare education, and that's something that Lieutenant Mullins can also share also, is the peer pressure that's out there for our young people to try something. They think it's funny, or they've seen the YouTube video, and they might see this YouTube video and not know that this man died 2 hours later and think it's funny the way he was acting. Let's see what we can do and how people act. The shows that are out there, zombies. Okay, we see the zombie shows that are out there, and the kids see that and they think it's cool. It's a movie, it's on TV, it's not real. But the way some of these drugs cause people to act, they act like zombies, so they think it's all funny and fun and games. And they're watching their classmates or their friends act stupid on the weekends, and they think, well, that's cool, and it's not. It's a sober reality. You've got to come to a point that you lose somebody, or you get arrested, or you have health effects from it for the rest of your life before you come to the realization that this is not the way out. And we've got to, basically share with everybody what we've learned, and hopefully we can encourage other people not to take the drugs. And, we can educate our young people. I'd love to see high school kids here. I'd love to see more parents here. We're trying to reach out to the communities. The first event we had 125 people come and cram into our little sheriff's office training room. And we felt like, well, we need to go out and towards a bigger area and into their communities. But I know the ball games are going on right now, and parents are pulled here and there. So hopefully with getting the video out, and I appreciate what Mr. Benko's doing with ARC TV is getting that out there. and we just want to get the words out to them. We'll come to your churches, we'll come to your community centers, we'll come to the fire departments if you want us to, but this is the second of 6 that we're planning on doing, so we're hopefully we can do a few more. Did I help?
Say on that also.
Yes, ma'am.
I have dealt with this with my son.
Okay.
And, I know he started out with marijuana.
Right, I was going to say that.
And he got to, he lost his job. So he got to where he didn't have the money to buy the marijuana, and he was told, well, you can use this, and you'll get the same effect out of it.
Yeah.
And after that first time, then there was another time, then another time, and I started noticing him the dark circles around his eyes and coughing all the time. It was horrible. And I started watching, where he was going, who he was with, and I started questioning, other people that knew him. And thank God, a lot of them were busted. So I just thank God for that. And he's off of it now.
Thank God.
So.
Mayor,
That's how a lot of people get hooked on the synthetic marijuana. The way that this was actually originally developed was developed at University of South Carolina for medical research to try to have a synthetic cannabinoid that would mimic THC for cancer patients, where marijuana is illegal in so many states throughout the U.S. They found out through medical research that it had too many adverse reactions on the body, and they scrapped the program. China has got a hold of this. Once they got a hold of it, they've perverted it and turned it into the epidemic that we have now. That's how it's got to be so bad, is we have people that were originally just using marijuana, and now they're using this, and they can't get off of it.
Some of the packets had
Phone
phone numbers on
numbers on? Yeah.
Yes, exactly, that's fine.
I think we had a comment or question here, and then we'll go here.
I
Yeah.
was going to comment on 2 things. First off, I'd like to thank our defense. On the day that I pulled a left turn out of my house to go up to the post office and went by Cecil's Variety Shop, and all y'all were out there parading
That's right.
people out in handcuffs. All I could do was put down the window and say, "Get 'em, boys!" But let me add to that.
Sure.
Why was I glad that happened? Because I knew it was there.
Yeah.
I bet 30 or 40 people that I talked to on a weekly basis in the Pound and Wise community knew it was there.
Yeah.
And why didn't we, and I'm standing up here on the top of this podium with the rest of us, is why didn't we do something?
There was a couple problems with that, and I saw that same problem too, and all of y'all did. I was working cases on the child protection side and seeing kids, and I know you work at CASA volunteer, so I know you work closely with kids, but we were seeing parents who, to try to get away from the drug screen, they'd be taking these and try to get the same effects, and would just lose all care about anything and abuse their kids, and just kids not showing up for school and having to feed themselves and take care of themselves. I mean, just horrible, horrible. And so everybody wanted to try to do something. I'm sure y'all can speak to this more. But there was a big problem because at the time, because of the chemical compound structure, it was technically legal. And so Congress and our General Assembly changed the law and said that rather than trying to track every single chemical compound down and say, okay, this is a scheduled drug, this is a scheduled drug, now there is an analog statute, both imitation statute and analog statute in state and feds. And essentially what this does is say, if this is a drug, it might not be known on the scheduling table, but if this is a substance that is meant to be ingested that has the same or similar chemical structure as a known drug, and it has similar effects on the human body as a known drug, then we're going to prosecute it. And you can convict on it. And a lot of the folks that you're speaking of, the smoke shops around here, were prosecuted under that code section. And another code section, misbranding, because a drug has to have certain FDA regulations, has to be branded right, has to say what's in it. And because we were able to get around the backside of it and not necessarily prosecute the drug itself, you can prosecute the package that it's in as being mislabeled because it had to have the stuff in it. So fortunately, there's been some changes in the law since then. And I want to give credit to the past Commonwealth's attorneys and the past administrations for the hard work that they did on a couple fronts. Number one, on trying to track down, and the federal prosecutors as well, trying to track down those who are bringing this stuff in. Ron Elkins, Chad Dotson, Josh Newberry from over in Dickinson County, they were prosecuting these specific cases or prosecuting other drug crimes and getting Fourth Amendment waivers and saying that now we can go into a person's home because they're a convicted felon and they've waived their Fourth Amendment rights, and we can go and seize their drugs. And now we're the recipients of that, and we're able to now be more aggressive than ever before. And rather than focus on the short game, we're able to focus on the long game and say, if you're a repeat offender, we're going to put you in prison for a very long time.
I just want to say add a little something to that. Our drug task force representative, he worked many years on those cases, and we busted 8. How many did you say?
It was a 2-year operation.
2-year operation. We busted 8 sites at the same time, simultaneously, but we were also busting sites in Florida, North Carolina, and Tennessee at the same time. So they were getting this drug from all over, but they were busting these individuals at the same time in different locations. And the reason we did that is because we knew if we busted one, they'd call the next one. And one individual owned several of them. The people that were running Linda's place in Coburn owned 2 or 3 here in Pelham. So we were able to get those individuals. So you understand it takes a while for them to develop the cases and to have their confidential informants to go in for each individual for all the different buys. And it was a lot of hard work. They really put the hours in. And it's continuous. It's a continuous thing.
I got one more question over here.
Sure.
Was there something, and you stop me if I'm wrong here, but one of the things I think the community did out in Coburn was they came up with a petition against one of, I won't mention any names, but one of the dealerships was classified then as a nuisance business.
Right.
Are we able to do that in Wythe County? Because this is, the heart of my question was, why didn't we as a community rise up
Well,
and prevent this somehow rather than relying on the defenders?
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about that because I'm from Coburn, and I know that story. The individual that was at a corner shop, and some Christians got out, and they were holding up signs, and praying for him, and they got mistreated quite a bit for being there, but they just want to encourage people not to go in there. But what happens is at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, before the place even opened, there was lines in ready to go in and buy the drugs. They couldn't wait till they opened the door to get the drugs. They were waiting for that. So our community tried really hard. And yes, they got busted, or that the awareness was out there, so they changed their name. So they became a coffee shop and started selling Christian books and things like that. And I would be really scared to say that I was selling Christian books, and in the back they were still selling the drugs, so they ended up getting busted.
I think
So,
that's part of the offense thing that Chuck was talking about earlier. We do need to do that as communities.
right, we need to stand up
probably
and let them
need
know
to
we
get
know who you are.
Those
And-
30 or 40 people I mentioned, we probably needed to hold some signs out there across the street from Cecil's.
Exactly.
And let people know their cars were being videotaped as they came over the mountain from Kentucky and got their special.
And at some point, they don't care. They
That's
don't
true,
care.
but-
I mean, they would stand out in the street and wait for it to open, and they couldn't wait for that next fix. So
I'm an idealist too.
I am too. And I have this Pollyannish attitude. I want to help people. I'm not in it to write tickets. I'm not in it to make bus. I want to help people. I probably should have been a nurse like you. But, I mean, I just want to make a difference, and I can't do it by myself. Chuck can't do it by himself. Lieutenant Mullins can't do it by himself. And Lieutenant Baker, I just gave you promotion, didn't I?
Yeah.
Deputy Baker can't do that by himself. He can't do it by himself. We all have to do this together, and we need your all's help. And-
The community has to help.
Right, and it's kind of like a neighborhood watch thing that we have. I started neighborhood watches years ago. We'll go to your neighborhood watch. We'll help you in your neighborhood watch. It's not my neighborhood, it's your neighborhood, okay? And it's not say it's your problem, it's your neighborhood, so you need to tell us what's going on. Yes, we've got, 45, 50 deputies are out there on patrol, but we can't be everywhere all the time. And they've got scanners, they know where we are. It's kind of, they're snitching on us what we're doing, that's fine. We want them to know that we're out there too and they don't know where we are. So if we've got more eyes and ears out there that can give us information, that you all don't have to worry about us letting someone know that you gave us that information. You just can't go and say, I called one in, and you can't brag on that, because that's not a safe thing for you to do either. But what we want you to do is to contact us or the task force and let us know if you see something. See something, say something. This day and age, we've got to say something. We can't just turn the other way. If we see something that looks suspicious, it probably is. Get a tag number. If you know somebody's name, whatever, get a vehicle description. Because when they start selling near our schools, they're selling stuff that are targeting our kids. If you have a kid and they see this little package back here, and I want you all to take time before you leave, is you're going to be able to come up and I want you to view this and I want you to show your kids this and show them this is not something for you to ingest. You don't take this. Because somebody could give it to them. It looks like candy and they're trying to target our young people.
Tracy, can I comment on something along those same lines and the community engagement thing? We all either have a civic group that we're part of or a church. We all know someone in every family that's an addict. It's in every family. It's in mine, it's in yours, I'm sure. I'm probably guilty of this, and I dare say, and don't raise your hand, some are as well, of saying, well, he's too far gone for me now, or whatever it may be. And thank you for sharing your story. There's no one too far gone that you can't pray for them, invite them to church, bring them to your group, get them plugged in, because I think idle hands are the devil's workshop, and if you can't get somebody plugged in to have some meaning and purpose and fulfillment in life, as you were saying, what's the root cause of all of it? I think it's really a little bit of not having anything to do and that kind of thing. We got to change that. There's plenty of stuff to do, and we need to get people plugged in. Along those same lines, unfortunately, because of the rampant drug problem, there's a significant number of kids in our community, not just young kids, but teenagers, who have nowhere to go and no home. There are kids in foster care, there are kids who've been abused and neglected, there's foster homes, there's kids that go back to homes because there's not enough foster homes. We need, as a community, to reach out and open our doors and say, come on, we'll take care of you. Yes, we'll invite you in. And the teenagers are the hardest sometimes. This is Child Abuse Awareness Month, so I'm going to make it aware. Selling or using drugs, whether it's prescription or not, with a child around is abuse. Because you're telling that child it's okay. And it's creating a cycle of abuse. We need to say enough's enough, especially if you've got a family member that needs help. Part of the Commission on Youth, Virginia's General Assembly has a set commission for youth-related issues. And one issue that we've been working on is for parents and grandparents and cousins and friends and neighbors to be able to take in a child on a temporary basis and have a temporary power of attorney to be able to take care of that child for an addict. Rather than going into the system, a neighbor or a friend or a relative saying, yeah, I'll step up to the plate and help. We need to encourage y'all. If you're not foster parents, if you're not, go out there and take in a child, because it's such a big need in our area. So I'll throw that out there. All right.
Given Lieutenant Mullins or either one of y'all got more you want to add?
My one thing kind of answers two questions. It was yours saying, is this more addictive? And you're saying, why are they doing this the first time to begin with? I can answer that kind of in one word. It's more attractive. It's not more addictive.
They feel like I can go to the store and buy it. I'm not buying it off the black market, so there's nothing wrong with it. They package it pretty, SpongeBob, Scooby-Doo. Their friends say, oh, this is great, you should try it. You're not going to get in trouble because it's not against the law. Well, because like Mr. Slimp explained, the law is a little bit behind. It takes a while to get things through the General Assembly, through the legislature to make it illegal. So during that time period, when it was technically legal, this was a practice. And touch on why did you do it the first time? Well, a lot of the youth were raised up knowing marijuana is wrong, it's illegal. Cocaine is bad for you. Heroin is bad, it's wrong. They never heard of K2, Spice, Scooby Snacks. You know, ignorance can be an excuse to a point. Well, we thought it was something okay. It was potpourri. We were going to smell good. And that little bit, taking that edge off is enough to push somebody that was thinking about going over the edge but wasn't committed to make them committed. Just that little bit of pressure taken off of it. So it was that easy. It was a perfect storm.
Chuck, may I,
Yes, sir.
may I
Yes,
make
sir.
just one comment?
Thank you. Please.
I'll stand up so folks can hear me. The first I heard of a whole lot of this stuff was at the sheriff's first symposium he had. And it scared the life out of me. I've been in the rescue squad for 48 years. Been volunteering for 48 years. And I see stuff now that I had never imagined that I would see. I appreciate your comments on it. And great that you sent it off. We see stuff, when we were growing up, I guess I'm a senior in here, but when we were growing up, and Dave here with us too, but when we were growing up, we didn't have to worry about accepting something from a neighbor.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about not eating supper when the neighbor's home. If we're at their home, we misbehaved, they busted their tail and told Dad and Mama back, we got another tail busted. Well, we can't do that now. We can't, I hate to say this, but we can't trust anyone. We have to educate our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren in my case, just what is out there and what it can do to them. And I appreciate you folks ever so much for being here.
Thank you for asking us.
And I will, next time you're here, I'll be here too.
Hey, thank you.
Me too.
All right. Thank you all. We're gonna formally conclude because I promised y'all an hour and we're over. And feel free, come up, ask questions, review the display. I'm going to leave my cards out here on the table. If there's any question you specifically have for me or someone on my staff, or you can just reach out to us online. Thank you all again. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here and for Teresa and the Sheriff's Department.
Miss Bobbles has us some refreshments out front, and who helped you with that? Melissa Hubbard. Thank you, Melissa Hubbard. She's back there in the back. So make sure you get some refreshments for the kids. I know they've been in here a long time. Take time and come look at this stuff.